Let's go.
All right, we are back. Another episode. This is 29 episode trailers to Yachts on season 2. We have a new guest since we jumped into the bar scene this year. We opened up our first bar.
Yeah, show them the t-shirt.
Oh yeah, new shirt.
A beat.
Very nice, right? Made it yesterday. So we just jumped into the bar space in May. So this season we're going to be bringing on different bar owners and kind of talking about that scene in Columbus. So this is Jim, owner and founder of Sweeney's. You want to tell us about yourself and about your bar?
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me on. This is really interesting, really fun.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your anniversary coming up, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah.
Tomorrow, is it?
Yep. August 7th, or 1 year in the restaurant.
Damn. Well, that's terrific. I've had your food, and it's really good.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate it a lot. I love a good smash burger.
Yeah, I think a couple of your employees come in quite often, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we love it. I'm Jim Sweeney. I'm the owner, founder of Sweeney's Walnut Street Tavern in Franklinton. So right across the river from here. We opened on August 29th last year, so we're getting ready to have our first, birthday party. And that'll be September 6th, and it'll be at the bar, and we're going to close Walnut Street for it. I named the place after Walnut Street because that's a street on which I've decided to kind of focus the rest of my professional career, building that into something interesting in the middle of the Franklinton Arts District. Damn, sorry guys. I thought I silenced it. I guess I didn't. Did that wrong. High tech. But yeah, so Walnut Street is you probably never, have you ever heard of Walnut Street?
I have not, no.
Have you ever?
No.
So you've heard of Cherry Alley, I guess, part of downtown. There's other little. So this old American cities were named for numbers, presidents, states, and trees, oftentimes, and it's an indication of sort of the age of the city when the those streets are basically taken over by other streets. So there are little sections of the Walnut Street runs all the way through Columbus, or the old downtown part anyway. And there's just little sections of it left. So there's our part of Walnut Street, I should say, is in East Franklinton, runs from historic Lucas Street, named after Lucas Sullivan, founder of Columbus, basically, to Gift Street, the historic street on which he was offering lots for people to move to Franklinton. And so it's just about 1,200 feet long, this little street. It exists between, it runs east and west, so it's parallel to Town and Rich, and it's off that... it's just about 100 feet from each, and it looks like an alley. It's kind of funny. It's just we found this street that didn't exist. This black hole in everybody's cognitive map of the neighborhood. They just couldn't see it. And so I bought a house down there. 2015, I bought a little 1,100 square foot house, middle of the block, a block where most of the houses were vacant and severely deteriorated because they're very old, and because of the economic decline in Franklinton. It occurred in large part due to the big floods of the last century. I don't know how familiar you guys are with that whole Franklinton flooding lore. But there's nobody really paid any attention to the street. And it occurred to me that it's a cool little sort of sub-district within the greater Franklinton Arts District, or I like to call it the cultural district now, because culture, to me, is history and art. Art plus history equals culture. So that's sort of the way I'm looking at the neighborhood now. And this can be a little sub-district, so that we've seen a lot of development occur in the neighborhood since the creation of the flood wall. Kind of going back in history a little bit here, but in 2003, a flood wall was built to protect against the flooding. Before that, you couldn't do anything in the neighborhood. There was no development allowed. No banks would lend. You just couldn't make anything happen. And what happened is that most of the houses fell down, if not directly because of the flood, but eventually because of the flood, and were torn down. And so there's just not that many little houses left down there. And then in 2003, a flood wall was completed, which you can see parts of it from 71. If you go to Franklinton and take my tour, you'll see little sections of it here and there. But that sort of changed the rules. You could begin developing over there. And not much happened for the longest time. In about 2007, the development community started getting interested in the neighborhood. And then 2008 happened, the great economic downturn of 2008. And so nothing happened again for about another 4 or 5 years. And then after that, momentum kind of started picking up. And now what we're seeing is development is very interested in moving in, and a lot of like little buildings are being torn down for bigger buildings. And so I thought if we could capture Walnut Street, I mean the whole street, all the houses, we could convert them to something that would be economically feasible, something we could actually get our money back on the investment of the houses and not miss out on the sort of the gold rush of building, but instead take a different approach, actually saving the old houses, putting them to new uses. And that's what my bar is. It's the first on the block to be converted to a new use. And since bars is something I've known about my whole life and something I kind of understand, and it seemed like a natural fit. And it's, it kind of fits with the arts and the sort of the culture that goes down there to have a nice sort of like traditional watering hole in the middle of the neighborhood. It's not too pretentious. We don't do food because it's not big enough. It's just a tiny little house. But we have built out every square inch of the property. The property is 25 feet wide and 79 feet deep. So it's tiny. It's tiny. But we've made, I think, good use of most of it, and we continue to upgrade. Sort of, my friend Zach Henkel calls it it's a submarine. The building's a submarine. We have to find a little place for everything we put in there, and it has to be there because it's just so tiny.
Crazy. Is there anything else in that block, or people living in that block still?
There is currently only 2 other people who live on the block. So on the north side of the street, on the south side of the street, I'm talking now on our section of Walnut. Walnut, I almost need a map, but Walnut runs from, like I said, Lucas to Gift. It's bisected by McDowell, which goes north and south. And you probably have seen McDowell Street, like the Gravity Experience Park is on McDowell Street. A lot of the Gravity developments there on McDowell Street, and the land grants is kind of they run the Experience Park there on McDowell Street. So McDowell kind of bisects Walnut. And so everything east of that is owned by Urban Smart Growth Company, which is 400 West Rich, the art studios down there, and Chrome Edge and a few other things. And my friend Chris Sherman owns a building there on the corner. But everything west of McDowell is basically vacant land or vacant houses. So on the south side of the street, it's mostly vacant land. On the north side of the street, it's vacant houses. And we own, I say we, my friend Blake Compton and I, put together a little investment team, and we bought, after I bought mine and decided to do a bar, they kind of came to the table. This team kind of came together and said, okay, let's get them all. Let's get all the vacant ones. Then the ones that were occupied, you had tenants that didn't want to stick around. They were older. They wanted to get a ranch house, where they didn't have to do the stairs. They wanted like space in the country. So these were my neighbors. So eventually, I just made them offers, and then they kind of took them. So we bought those houses, and those are vacant. We're working on them now. And there's a couple more other people live on the street. And we've recently made a deal to get one more of those houses. And then the third one, the other house is owned by an investment company, and I don't know what they're going to do. But we basically now have site control on 11 of the 13 houses. And
wow.
The plan is to convert them just like I did my place into something interesting, something that's viable. But preserves the old house. So we want to make this sort of like a scaled down sort of like sub-district within the larger cultural district.
And you're thinking of each one of those is a different commercial space, right? Not residential in any of them?
Well, no, we didn't rule anything out. I mean, we had them all we're going to have them all rezoned as mixed use. And so there could be some residential element. We have, Blake owns one, I own my bar, and together we own 7 more houses and 2 more vacant lots. And of those 7 houses, we're combining 2 together in the back, not in the front. So they'll still look like 2 houses. For my other friend, Mike Minnick's company called Goodland, and they do environmental sustainability consulting, but they also do product retail sales, and they do a lot of interesting things. And they're good friends of ours, and they've been, we've known them in the neighborhood for years. And so they're going to move into that. We're combining those 2. And then a little further on down, we just picked up another one. We're not sure what we're going to do with that one yet. And then a little further on down, there's 2 vacant lots. Not sure about those. We just got those. And then after that, there's 3 in a row. And the plan for those 3 is to combine those like we did the other 2, sort of in the back, so they still appear to be 3 houses, but do a music hall in that, some kind of smaller music venue. And then skip one house, the one we don't own, and then there's a residential one at the end. That's where my friend, I'm wearing her hat.
Yeah, I see that.
Just lives in that house. Oh, I shouldn't tell her people where she lives.
I'll beep that out.
Yeah, beep that. Yeah, beep out the name. So yeah, I think that final house in the row we probably will keep as residential. When the current tenant gets done with it, we're thinking that we maybe will make that some sort of music Airbnb, like a music place for traveling bands to stay. The thing is, across the street from my place is a secret studio, and it's a recording studio owned by a couple friends of mine. And the thought is, what if we could attract more artists to come and perform musically in Franklinton? They could maybe stay in the house, do their laundry, play video game, whatever, just kind of take a break off the road. We'd build a nice garage in the back, fence it all in, something safe where they could park the van, because that's always an issue when you're on the road. Safety for the van. Stay in the house, maybe perform in my place, maybe perform in the new place, maybe even record or rehearse over at Secret Studio. And in that way, be able to attract other bands. Some bands that may not make Columbus a normal stop might come through Franklinton like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we're both from Washington State, so we've only been here for 3 years now. But the music scene in Seattle area is, like, the underground music scene is massive compared to here. Mm-hmm. That's something we're kind of working on in our bar right now, is making a spot for a lot of smaller artists that aren't known yet, like the up-and-coming artists, to have a spot to just go play whenever they want.
I saw that, yeah, and that's super cool. I'm glad you're doing that. Yeah, we're doing the same in my place. We're experimenting. We have a music series that's supported by our one of our liquor distributors, Green River, helps us pay for that. And we have a band or a performer there every Wednesday. There'll be somebody there tonight. I forget who it is tonight. I'm sorry, but my friend Phil Cogley and his partner Liz are going to be there next Wednesday. And we were in there before, and they were great. They were a great time. But yeah, I think that Columbus does have an opportunity to lean further into music, and not just local music, but attract more traveling bands. I heard recently that a lot of bands will come through, like famous bands we all know that are famous now, will come through Columbus, have come through Columbus, like on their first album. You gotta hit everything on your first album. But then when they get in their second and third records and they're popular and they're getting popular, they kind of skip this market. They go through the Cincinnati, or maybe they skip the Midwest, but so it's getting those folks, and they'll come back when they're bigger to play the bigger halls, but that's sort of like that second record, third record kind of, we miss those bands. And so I think there's an effort. We'd love to see the neighborhood Franklinton be a destination for live music. And so we're working on that quite a bit. We work with the Franklinton Arts District and other folks to try to get more paid musicians to show up and perform.
Cool. Can you jump into your background?
Sure. Yeah, it's kind of strange. I started my career in television, believe it or not. So I did this kind of stuff,
Welcome back.
Thank you. And then I kind of, that was in the 90s. So then I kind of got, antsy and wanted to be in front of the camera a little more, be paid for what I thought rather than what I was doing necessarily. So I went to city planning school at Ohio State, got a master's degree in city planning, and went a normal route, went to Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission and was a land use planner for 3 years and did plans and zoning and stuff like that. And somewhere in there, I jumped to a couple different jobs. It didn't work out and landed in Franklinton. Actually, I went to the Hilltop first, worked at the Hilltop Community Development Corporation, building affordable housing in the Hilltop, trying to. It's real challenging. And then ended up becoming the director of the Franklinton Community Development Corporation, called Franklinton Development Association. So I ran that for 14 years, and we built the first new house in Franklinton. We would essentially try to create, the affordable housing, that issue we have now didn't used to exist like it does, but the tools were still there. We would use them in Franklinton to create better, decent houses in the neighborhood. In other words, it was always affordable. Well, it was for a long time affordable. It was just the property values didn't support any sort of significant rehabilitation, which all the houses in Franklinton need significant rehabilitation. Mm-hmm. So we had an issue. The FDA mission really was to create better living conditions in the neighborhood, but also, we also took that another level up to economic development, which is kind of where we got into art. One of the reasons we got into art also is that we were building houses in the neighborhood with grants built into them in order to subsidize them down to where they were affordable. and also subsidize them down to the part where we could actually finish them, because building a house even then was more expensive. Was expensive in the appraisal value wouldn't support actual construction. So the grants would serve two purposes, like closing the development gap, the appraisal gap, and also making them affordable. But we also had a terrible time trying to find people that would buy the houses in the neighborhood, because of the reputation of Franklinton as the bottoms was pretty severe. People in the neighborhood actually couldn't get mortgages. So we thought, we also wanted to have a more diversified community. We also wanted to have a more heterogeneous community. And so we thought, well, what community of people could we get to move to the neighborhood that would have the balls to live in Franklinton early days, and also be able to qualify for our low income requirements. And those were artists, as it turned out. Artists, will get in there first. I know we didn't invent this; we just knew it would work, and it did. We were able to, once we sort of got involved with the arts district and started sort of helping rebrand the community as this creative community where things are affordable and you could, get in and do what you want without anybody really pushing, you out or any directions. We got a lot of traction with that, and we sold some houses to some artists, and we helped some other artists rent some houses, and we just found it was a good economic driver for the community. East Franklinton, east of 315, has had a lot of vacant big buildings, like 400 West Rich and the building that's now the Idea Foundry, and a lot of vacant land, which can actually be developed for housing and whatever, and hopefully some affordable housing. We've seen a lot of that. But that's the background. So I did that for 14 years, and kind of burnt out on it, to be honest with you, because it's a tough line to walk between the development community and the political community and the community. And I thought, well, why don't I go out on my own, and I'll see if I can be a consultant. And I got kind of into that. I didn't like that much, actually, to be honest. But then I started getting a little traction on that. Then COVID hits, and I'm locked up like everybody else. And I'm thinking, I would love to be able to open something of my own down here, something that would drive the community the way I want it to go. Something that would fill in some gaps, maybe a rallying place for people who want to come down and do cool shit in Franklinton. And I thought, well, fuck it, I'll just open my own place in my house, because I know I could change the zoning. So I did. I said I got it in 15. I rehabbed it in 16. And then I guess in 2021. I decided I was going to just rezone it and make it into a bar and live somewhere else. And so it took a couple of years spinning my wheels trying to figure out how to make it work, and then eventually did, and opened up a year ago, August 29th, and it's been a lot of fun.
So did you have any bar experience before that? Or
besides drinking? No. No, none.
Just spending time in them?
Yeah. But I also have a lot of friends who have bars, so, I leaned on them, Mm-hmm. I figured I could hire a manager, and I did. I hired Justin Ryan, who I know from, he was at Land Grant for a while, then he ran Taft in Franklinton, and he knows the business, and he's kind of a badass, so I figured he could run with it, and he has. He's run with it. And so, I know the construction side, the zoning side, the politics side, all that, so I focus on that. Mm-hmm. And we're still improving the space, and so that's kind of the fun of it. I'm over there today just, painting and whatever, trying to make the place even more interesting. But so, yeah, I didn't really know much, but I've learned quite a bit in a year, as you can imagine. I wasted a bunch of money along the way, done some stupid-ass things, especially around the construction side, actually. But, they're all recoverable from, so I recovered from them. And, I think we've carved out a really unique, fun a destination for folks who want to see this old part of Franklinton before it turns into something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was one of your employees was in here grabbing a burger the first time I heard about it. Mm-hmm. He's like, "Oh yeah, I work over at Sweeney's." What's that? Like, "Oh, it's a bar and it's in a house in a neighborhood." Like, how the hell does that work? You're probably gonna get a lot of noise complaints, but I guess if you buy all the other houses, then.
Well, yeah. The thing is, there's really nothing around there. It's you got to take a look at it. Have you ever been to Detroit? Detroit, the inner circle of neighborhoods in Detroit are just flattened because all the things that happened in Detroit. It sort of looks like that because the flooding came through. I can walk out of my house and there'll be fields, just fields. There's so much, and those were all houses at one time. People kind of blown away when they tell them that. This house that I'm in, this existed times 300 in this immediate half-mile space. People are just like, I don't understand how that can be. They were tiny. I mean, I've seen it over and over and over again since I arrived at Franklinton in 2002. I've seen it over and over and over again. Houses just it takes about a day. And the cheap way to do it is to just push it into the basement, cover it with dirt, and it was never there. So there's plenty of houses in Franklin, and they're all underground. It's buried like that. But yeah, there's just nobody around. I mean, I can be as loud as I want. Now there's gonna be apartment buildings around me. They're not there yet. And as far as on my block now, there's just vacant houses. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, it's fun. I was talking to the construction guys that are working on our project a couple doors down, the Goodlands project, and I'm saying, could we possibly have done what we're doing in a normal neighborhood? Like, there's no way, because we have construction material everywhere. You know what I mean? I put wood siding on my house. That's how crazy I am. That's I don't regret it, but it added a huge cost. But I figure I got to walk the walk, right? It's going to be an old house, and I'm going to, leverage historic value. I've got to actually do a historic remodel. Right. And so, yeah, I had wood siding, which meant how many pieces of wood I had, 350, 16-foot long. That all needed to be stained, I guess. Not stained, I'm sorry, primed, both sides, and then painted both sides for some reason. But I spread all that out in the fields around my house. Meanwhile, I've got all my vehicles parked everywhere. Now they're building next door and there's construction. I'm like, nobody could do this without all this space. Yeah. It's incredible. I mean, you got to come see it. It's just just look around. You don't see the nothingness. You have to stop and go, oh, we are less than a quarter mile from Broad High, the center of not only Columbus, but Ohio. And there is vacant land everywhere around here. Not even parking lots, just vacant, just grass. Well, I don't know if it's grass, it's weeds, but it's, don't walk, it's full of holes and stuff. You can't really play on it. It's just grass, and it's strange. But we can be as loud as we want. We always have been as loud as we want. We just kind of do whatever we want down there. It's pretty great.
Yeah. What year were those houses built down there?
Nobody knows for sure. It's interesting that, apparently, maybe this is mythology, but I heard it's a myth, but there's a fire in the courthouse in 1900 that wiped out all the records of everything that was around before that. So nobody knows. You have to be a bit of a sort of architectural archaeologist to go in there. See, my house, if you go to the basement, there's a cellar on the back. So the houses were originally built over crawl spaces. And the foundation was on river stones, right? And then somewhere in they built the place with crawl spaces, and then I guess around 1910 or 1915, indoor plumbing was invented. Until then, they had the outhouse in the back, right? It was just how they did it, and wells. Drink out of a fucking well, and shit in an outhouse in the backyard, in a tiny little backyard. And anyway, plumbing came in, and instead of retrofitting the house for plumbing, they just stuck an addition on the back most of the time. And so the addition actually came with the basement. So there's a cellar under that third. So the addition is about a third of the footprint. And then the other 2/3 are over this crawl space. Anyway, if you get in there, you can see 4 feet of river stone and then 3 courses of block. And it's old block, but it's block. And so that tells me that the house existed until the 13 flood wiped away, because the 1913 flood was massive. Franklinton gets hit harder than everywhere else because it's lower. It's like a bathtub. So if you go over the tracks, you go under the tracks, you get into the neighborhood, like Coast, you go to the peninsula, you go under those 2 sets of tracks, and you're in Franklinton. Those tracks are basically at grade throughout the rest of the city. So that tells you how low Franklinton sits. You can't see it when you're there, so it would fill up like a bathtub and just wash everything away. Like Katrina. Have you seen the video of Katrina back in the days? Just rushing water takes everything away. Or what was it? Asheville recently. I don't know if you saw that in Asheville, North Carolina. But yeah, that happened in 1913. Wiped out everything. They rebuilt. So I think my house was rebuilt right after 1913. And then, it withstood the 1959 flood. So those are the 2 big ones. 13 killed hundreds of people, knocked down hundreds and hundreds of houses. And then, we will rebuild, and they rebuilt. In 59, it happened again. And those, at that point, everybody just said, fuck this place. And those who could get out got out. They went up the hill. They moved to the hilltop. They moved out. And those who couldn't get out stayed. And that's when the economy just kind of went toilet, and it became kind of the neighborhood of last resorts. And then the city and others began like sort of depositing things there. They didn't know where else to put. That homeless shelter was right there on the peninsula. The worst public housing project in the city was right there on where River and Rich is right now, and then the rest of the neighborhood is vacant. I mean, there's something distressful about vacantness. There's a comfort in activity and vibrancy. I mean, imagine going to the short north and being the only people on the sidewalk, you and the street people. Maybe people are like, okay, there's street people everywhere in Franklinton. Actually, there's not. There's tons of street people in the short north, but they're just mixed with other people. Yeah. In Franklinton, you encounter straight people every now and then. But it's just you and them, so that's a different experience than being approached by somebody with 40, hundreds of other people around. The point is that the desolation is off-putting, and I saw it as an opportunity when I showed up. I said, "It's desolate. It feels," but nobody was paying attention. I had people, other community development people, say, "Dude, are you crazy? What are you doing fucking around in the bottoms, man? I mean, that's like, you'll never get any traction down there." And I'm like, well, no, it's right off downtown. It's a classic old neighborhood, great grid, great, alleys, great front porches, great sidewalks, short walkable blocks, great public buildings that are still standing. We just need to recapture all that. And the timing we had, we knew we could do it in a humane way. We intermix affordability, opportunity for not just for the people that are there, but for other people that could come there. And I'm happy to say we built quite a bit of affordable housing. I think under my watch it was like 150, but that started from zero. It's probably been more than 1,200 or 1,500 units built down there now. Nobody talks about that.
Wow.
In a neighborhood of only 4,000 total units, that's full 25% subsidized affordable. It's significant. Mm-hmm. So significant that I would imagine somebody in Franklinton is going to say, enough. I bought this place. I've owned this. I inherited this place. And you're hurting my property values. And I don't know that that's valid, but I would imagine people would say that if they thought about it.
Yeah.
So that was all while you were city planner then?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like how you develop your love of the neighborhood?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always loved neighborhoods. So I became a city planner. I'll tell you my genesis story, how I became a city planner. I was making television commercials at the time. It was a funny job. I forget the name of the company, but we had the contract between all the cities. So I like the country area between like Dayton and Cleveland and Cincinnati and Columbus. And so I would go out and make these like cut rate commercials, It would be like Buddy's Carpet Barn, where I'd voice it, I'd shoot the whole thing, I'd run back to the office in Columbus and edit it, and it'd be on the air on that cable system and in the sticks like the next day. So I did this for months, and it was really fun actually. But what it got for me was an exposure to places I had never been before, kind of like, like the classic American small town, mm-hmm. which were, in this part of the country anyway, we're built with a lot of logic in mind. The courthouse in the middle, that concentric rings, almost like a radial almost design, and then you've got your inner ring of like dense commercial with some apartments, whatever, above it, and that goes out for a couple blocks. Then you start getting into the higher end, management houses, and they're just nice and just great architecture. And then, it starts sprawling a little bit. By the time I got there, that's when Walmart had showed up and just basically gutted these little towns. And I don't know if they're better now or what, but it was fascinating to me. Because I didn't grow up, I grew up in the suburbs. My family's from New York, so my family's all like Brooklyn and whatever, so that's those are the two like worlds I know. And I was unaware of this. And it occurred to me, how highly functional that kind of space can be, mm-hmm. compared to the suburbs where you got to drive everywhere and, everything's at the mall and everything's like, has no center. There's no civic life in the suburbs. There's no point around which everybody can rally. I think that kind of notion got designed into our small towns and to our cities back in the day, and we've lost track of that. Working in Franklinton, to me, seemed like an opportunity to recapture that. So that kind of goes into everything we talk about, everything we try to like lean into. Like, my favorite class in planning school was psychology of wayfinding, psychology of space. And it was all about wayfinding. It was about how people make decisions to do what they do in a built environment. There are certain cues that you pick up on that sort of like guide your choices, that you don't think of. Edges are one. You know, the railroad track, wrong side of the tracks, that's a real thing, right? A river, you know, a wide street like Broad Street. And I look at Franklinton as being just chopped up by significant edges. The river, the double set of elevated railroad tracks, certainly, you know, the width of Broad Street, then more railroad tracks, and it's just in these chunks. And I've been arguing for years, and people push back all the time, like, it's all one neighborhood. I'm like, yes, it is, but we can't address it. You can't really fix it unless you recognize that it's been chopped apart, and people are going to react to the pieces, not to the whole necessarily, or at least at first. But the other things you look for are the nodes. You know, we've got the like similar things on the same corner, or the same that attract people, like bars and restaurants are a node. I'd say Walnut Street, that we're trying to build like a commercial entertainment node there. And pathways is another thing. So West Broad, Town Street. One interesting thing about Franklinton is people tend to want to compare us to the Short North because A, we're talking about art. B, we're on the x-axis of Columbus, which is Broad Street, and Short North exists on the y-axis of Columbus, which is, of course, High Street. The difference is Franklin or Short North is very linear in nature and uses that axis, whereas Franklinton, at least the arts part of Franklinton, well, actually all of Franklinton, does not exist on Broad Street. Broad Street's an edge in Franklinton. It's not the main corridor. The main drag in Franklinton is like Town Street. Mm-hmm. It used to be State Street, but now it's Town Street. These are the kind of misconceptions that people have when they roll in a neighborhood, and they expect everything to be on Broad Street. I don't understand why isn't it not like High Street on Broad Street? Well, it's just High Street, Broad Street, and this is good because we're sitting right here where we're sitting right now. Broad Street in Franklinton is not like High Street in the Short North, but it's a lot like High Street in German Village. It's the edge, right? Mm-hmm. The center of German Village, if you had to give it an axis, it would be like Third or Mohawk, maybe. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the area around which everything turns. So there's all these sort of misperceptions about the community. Also, and this is weird, but I think when people come over to the neighborhood, because you're crossing over these significant edges, and one of them happens to be a river that wraps most of the neighborhood, the eastern part anyway, people somehow lose their internal compass. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's funny. You can be on Town Street. It's still Town Street. Actually, that's not true. When you go over the bridges, Rich Street turns into Town Street, and Main Street turns into Rich Street. I don't know, because the bridges downtown do that whoop-de-loop thing. So I guess that could throw you off. But generally, people land in Franklinton, they're like, I don't understand. They're like, I don't get it. You're just like, it's right there. And I can't see it. And they're like, oh my. And so that I think is a really interesting opportunity to make a place more dynamic and more interesting for people. Now, it used to work the opposite way. When you were afraid to be there, some people are still afraid to be there, which is hilarious to me. But you used to be afraid to be there because it was disconcerting. You were off foot. You didn't know sort of which direction you were supposed to go, and there might be bad people in every direction. So people got the fuck out fast. And that's the other thing, is there's only a few channels through which to get in and out of the neighborhood. There's basically no north-south channel. I mean, Souder Avenue, kinda, if you can find it. But, you know, east and west, basically the only ways to get out of the neighborhood is Rich Street, Town Street, and Broad Street over the bridges. And through most of my life, and I lived in Columbus most of my life, 2 of those bridges were out at any given time.
We're familiar with bridges being out.
So you know that affects the way people perceive the space.
Absolutely. No, it's funny. Like, we get customers in all the time, and they're like, tell them like about the area, and just like, the German Village is just right over there, and they're like, is it? No, it can't be. And you're like, you just literally cross High Street, and you're in German Village. You're like, I thought it was like way further away. You're like, no, it's right over there.
Yeah, right next to it.
Right next to it.
Yeah, you've got.
But like just having those roads, it just like throws them completely off.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys are managing with this whole cap construction thing.
Oh, it's been a ride.
Yeah,
for sure.
I can imagine. It's
like a lot of what you've been saying is like echoed. I'm like, not having a central access through the brewery district. Mm-hmm. Front Street is the central access, completely shut down. You have High Street, but High Street's more associated with like German Village and like completely different. So it's like we're in the middle of construction, in the middle of a block. It's tough.
Yeah, we don't have a road.
We do not have a road.
That even goes to our restaurant.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
We're in a back alley.
Well, good for you to make it work with these conditions. I mean, it must be.
We're trying.
Seriously, though, these are tough.
No, it's like, this is why I love this conversation, is because what you're doing in like Franklinton is like what we envision for the brewery district one day. Mm-hmm. It's like it's been downtrodden by COVID first, and then the Front Street Bridge went down, completely cutting off from downtown.
Yeah.
And it's just like there's nothing here now.
Yeah.
You talk about vacancy, you walk around the brewery district, you don't see another person for a while. No one's walking except maybe some of the offices.
Yeah.
So it's just
when we opened last year, September, I think we really saw it because we're like, it's all corporate offices down here. Like, people will find us and come eat. September's a ghost month. You wouldn't see anybody walk by a restaurant like, hey, get in here, get a burger, come try this place. But now we've kind of learned how to market, and then just with word of mouth, you know, one person goes back to the office. So it's now our lunches are super busy. We get a lot of people that come down here for it. But yeah, when we started down here, we had it in our mind that everyone would know where we're at and be able to find it and walk down here, and it was not the case at all.
Now, I'm old enough to remember when this little section of the brewery district was the hot spot in town. I used to come here in my 20s, I think. And then sort of the short north everything shifted. I'm not sure what happened, but the people started going, like the partiers started going up there.
Yep. In the arena district too.
Yeah, in the arena. Yeah, like Park Street and all that. Yeah. Yeah, and then, but so you can still see it. I mean, you can see that the design around here is really interesting, It's I think if you can hold on, if you can get to the other side of this cap, I mean, that's what they're doing, right? They're building a cap over, which is awesome.
Yeah,
it should help a lot when it's done. But God, how long is it going to be?
They say Front Street's supposed to be open by October 1st.
Oh shit!
Yeah. And then they're shutting down High Street
and 3rd.
Oh shit!
So
and then the High Street is the one that's supposed to get the cap over it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cap's not going to run all the way to front, huh? I kind of figured it would just the whole thing.
No.
Front's going to have something. I think they're doing like a park or something over.
Yeah.
It's going to be, the road goes across, and I think on one side of it, there's going to be like park and picnic tables and stuff set up. Or like a grassy area or something.
It'll be cool. I mean, I think it's going to be, the cap's a great idea. You see what it did in the short north. I don't know if you're familiar with, I grew up, the second half of my childhood, whatever, was in that area. Walking over the High Street Bridge over 670 was a shitty walk. And then they built the cap. Now you don't even know the freeway is there, and you just flows right through. I think this is really going to benefit when that gets done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think you'll be in a good space. And and you're in this funky little kind of like, I don't know what you even call this, kind of like little district thing you got here. It's fun.
Yeah. We first came down here, I think it was like 3:00 on a Thursday or something. We first looked at the spot, and we were walking up to it, couldn't find it. And we finally find it. We're like, this is a terrible spot to try to open a restaurant. There's no road.
Worst spot.
There's no customers, no foot traffic. We can't even find it to look at the space. And
why'd you choose it?
A month later, we signed the lease. Well, we started walking around and looking at the area, and you go in any of these old buildings, and it's like they have like, there's very few buildings that you walk into and you're just like, wow, you can feel the 1800s in them, and all the history down here. And talking to people about what this place used to be, I think pretty quickly we got the vision of like, we just might be dumb enough to try to make it happen and bring it back.
Yeah.
That's been our journey the last year. But yeah, there's several of these buildings are all vacant spots now, but there's quite a bit coming in the next 2 years. I think with the road opening, I think that'll help.
They're really like an amazing historic preservation project at the old Wasserstrom building, right over right here on High Street. I think was it High Street or Front Street?
Front. That's right. Next to us.
Fulton.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm all turned around right now, but that looks like a great project.
Yeah, that's changed hands a couple times. I think it recently sold. And last I heard, they're supposed to be putting like 400 apartments and condos in there. Which is, 50 yards away from us. And then I think a 7-story parking garage. There'll be a couple retail spots. But it was supposed to be the Fulton and Front project, which was going to have all a 5-star hotel and then a bunch like mixed use, similar Bridge Park style. But I don't know what happened with that one.
I think COVID killed it, honestly. Investors pulled out, and then it just kind of sat. And they had some issues with the city, from what I heard.
Well, this goes to sort of my decision too to do what I did when I did it. Was that we're seeing this like push of like apartments in in the neighborhood. I mean, and I watch all the studies and the data that, we're going to add 1 million people in like 15 years or whatever other people are saying. But I mean, I also see like, there's very few times I see apartments not rented. You know what I mean? It seems like everything gets bought up.
Yeah.
Even the real high end ones are just like, I'm convinced that there are people on both coasts headed our way that are accustomed to paying way more than you have to pay in Columbus, that are going to take anything they can get, like take everything. And I mean, we're seeing it. I mean, for Franklinton, there are like, I sit on the zoning review board for the neighborhood, which is, so the east from 315 East, call it East Franklinton, has its own zoning district, if you will. And then that's how I was able to flip my place to a bar. It's like a lot softer zoning. The logic is that if you can soften up the zoning and allow for more creative, adaptive reuse of smaller buildings, they can withstand the pressure from development, which is exactly what Walnut Street's about. And so yeah, I was able to do that in there, and will continue to try to do that in other smaller buildings. Meanwhile, I'm on the zoning board, and I see all the buildings that are coming our direction, from the very like sort of conceptual, proposed conceptual stage. And I mean, I know of like probably 400 to 500 apartments that are planned. Sheesh. within probably a quarter mile of my bar. They're hopefully all going to, my guess is, just from the data I'm reading, it's 24 to 35-year-old, college educated, from the coasts, single, want to party. And so I said, shoot, I might as well just, cash in on that and try to get those folks engaged in the right way if we can do it. So I think from what you're saying, I think you have a good solid bunch of customers headed your way. They just got to get these things built.
Yeah, and that's where. So if you use your phone to GPS, as you probably did coming down here, they Google takes you down to Front Street and you run right into the road closed, and so people instantly like, is this place even real? We get calls all the time. People can't find it, but we don't know how many customers we're losing because of that. But we get people at least weekly that come in there like, I was about to give up, and I finally just parked. I'm like, I'm gonna go walk and try to find this place.
Or they'll say like, I've tried 3 separate times, and this time I was determined to find you guys. That happens all the time.
Well, you must do a lot of like DoorDash and stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's about 30% of our business right now is the platforms.
Yeah, it was. We're still figuring out how to better market it, but I think because we did a food truck for a year, we have no background in any of this stuff, but we did the food truck for a year, which marketing a food truck's very different than marketing a restaurant. Now we just took over the 1,200 square foot bar space. Now we're learning how to market a bar, which it's in the restaurant, but they're kind of separate. So
yeah, I was in there. I just walked through there. That's a cool space. You guys got a great building.
Yeah, that's kind of like we saw the vision of the area and what it could be. And we decided we're crazy enough to make it happen. So
awesome. Well, you should celebrate your birthday, man.
I don't know, Thursday, tomorrow.
Yeah. Come celebrate my birthday.
No, I've been wanting to get over there, but between work and family, I don't really get anywhere. But
yeah, I just had my 3rd kid too, so I haven't been getting out very much.
You guys, all right. Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. But yeah, Justin will shoot me if I don't talk about this birthday party a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So we're going to do stuff all day. Is an OSU football game in there somewhere too? I think 3:00 it's on. But we have a couple bands at least. We're working with Secret Studio across the street. They have a stage right there. So they'll have bands. I think we're going to be able to walk through the building that's getting done next door. I talked to the builder today. He said he thinks it's going to be safe and ready for people to tour it. So I find people really like walking through like construction sites, you know what I mean? Just or people really like walking through like houses that are just like dilapidated and like before construction even starts. We just actually did a tour. One of the things I'm like most proud of the work that we did in Franklinton was sort of change perception of the place. And we did that in creative ways. I thought we had a tour of homes in the bottoms, the neighborhood people were like told to avoid. We were like, come out and see what's some houses. And but half the houses on the tour were houses that we were basically gutting to rehab. So they got to see like the old like literal like guts, not literal guts, but the studs. We would bring them down the studs, and people love that shit. I mean, like they just wanted more. They just want to keep looking at them. So, yeah. But by the way, the other thing we did that I was really proud of is, and this is my favorite. We used to get a lot of press. There was an article that said, or a clipping that said, what was it? Without apology or explanation, Franklinton has a restaurant week. We didn't even have 5 restaurants. We had 4 restaurants, and one of them was a hot dog shop. So this is like these like little moves that we made in the neighborhood to just say, "Oh, fuck you if you're not happy with us, or you're afraid to come here." I used to tell people that when they're afraid to go, mostly online fighting with people, like, people are like, "Oh, there's all this crime." I'm like, you know what? You're afraid to come down here. We don't want you. Your kids are gonna love it though. And now their kids are showing up. So it's cool. So I'm sorry, birthday party. Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. We also have another party scheduled for the weekend after that, and that's because it's the Ohio University OSU football game weekend. I went to Ohio U, and so we're fiercely proud, we Bobcats, and so we're going to convert Walnut Street to Court Street for the day. We're going to change our logo with a little raccoon. We're going to put a bobcat on there, and just invite all the OU grads that live around here, and there's a lot of them, to come and like sort of like rally for the Bobcats to beat the Buckeyes.
Let's go Bobcats!
Nice. Yeah, right on. So that'll be fun. I don't think that's September 12th. So the anniversary party's the 6th, and the OU party is on the 12th.
Oh yeah, football season's coming quick.
Yeah, yes it is. Yeah, so is winter.
Yeah. I'm ready for winter though. I'm over the hot days.
Yeah, me too. I don't like the heat, but it's actually, we make a lot more money in the warm weather. We have a patio front and back, and that does pretty well.
Yeah, our patio out front, I'm sure you saw it. It's essentially a greenhouse when it's hot.
Oh yeah.
So we're ready for fall.
Put some plants up in there, man. Do some like some tropical shit in there. That would be cool.
Yeah, they'd grow great in there.
It probably would. Yeah, we have tons of plants in the bar. Like during COVID, that was like one of my things. Like going stir crazy. I started propagating plants. Just all over. I just like put them all over the house, and so they all made it into the bar. And so if you go in there, there's plants just everywhere, and people love it. I'm like, there's plants, I'm a freaking genius because I put some plants in the bar. Don't steal my idea.
Yeah, now one of our
employees should do the greenhouse for real.
Yeah, we want to do it. Throw some plants in there, but one of our employees has been hounding me for months. He's like, put plants in that patio. Like, hey, it's on my list.
People love it.
It's gonna happen.
Once it's addictive, though. Once you do one, you're always going to want more because it's just fun. You just see them growing. You're like, oh my God, I did that. All I did was put water on it, and it's growing. People think I know anything about. There's the secret. I know nothing about plants, like zero. I just put water on them, and somehow they just continue to get bigger. And people give me more.
Yeah, wow. Well, we'll bring you a plant for your 1 year.
That's what I should do. So for our opening, this is something I'm pretty proud of. A friend of mine gave me this idea years ago. I told him I wanted to have records. I wanted to be a turntable bar, right? And I wanted the back bar to be lined with records, with vinyl. And he said, here's what you need to do. He's like, when you have your grand opening, don't ask for people to like make an admission charge, make a cover charge, but don't make it money, make it records. Ask people to bring a record, but not give it to you, but actually add it to the collection, to our collection. So what we have at the bar now is a record collection owned by everybody who ever gave us a record. So your record is still in there. I mean, we'll keep it for you. And you can, in theory, come in and we'll play it for you, in theory. First, that means we got to find it. Second of all, one thing I did screw up, I told you I screwed up some construction stuff. Well, one of the things I made this amazing. I had my buddy Matt Hatcher, the Idea Foundry, make me a walnut case, because Walnut Street, right? Not a case, but a cabinet, basically, just really pretty and really nice. He does great work. That was, filled with records, and we put the turntable in there. Now, put it just high enough for me to be able to reach up there and do it, which means anybody shorter than me, which is some people, most of my bartenders, as it happens, cannot reach the damn record player anymore. So, or at all. So that's some of my list of things to do is figure out how I get that record player a little bit lower so we can use it more. But then finding the records is impossible.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I mean, you're going to, especially when you're busy. I mean, the bar's busy. I don't want bartenders fucking around with records. I can sell those drinks.
Yeah, that would get frustrating quick.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else you want to plug before we wrap this thing up?
No, I don't think so. Come on down to Walnut Street. Come to Franklinton. Oh, this Friday is Franklinton Friday. And Franklinton Friday is our sort of our gallery hop, if you will. So all the studios at 400 West Ridge, excuse me, and Chrome Edge are open. All the businesses are like turned out. Land Grant usually has a big band playing there, and the Land Grant, the Gravity Experience Park. There's like pickleball and whatever going on. They do roller skating in there sometime, which is really cool. We'll have a band on Walnut Street. It's just a lot of fun stuff happening down in the old neighborhood. It's just a good time to come down there and check out some art, buy some art, watch some bands, buy some drinks, and just kick it. It's the second Friday of every month, Franklinton Friday.
Cool.
Well,
I look forward to hearing the rest of this story as it grows down there.
It's ongoing.
We'll have to do another podcast a year from now.
I look forward to
making our
recap.
annual recaps.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. This has been fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for coming on. Hit us with some outro music. Smash you later.
All right.